Recently, I was thinking about this, how really most video games, they don't hit as they used to anymore. And I remember when I was in high school coming back, just wanting to play League of Legends the whole day. And to a certain extent, if you did play those games as well, you understand why they hit so much back then, because you don't really have a sense of purpose or what you're going to do. You're asked to make big decisions right away and you are not sure what you're going to do. And there it's very easy. You have the ranks, you have what exactly to do, how to improve. If you play well, you get rewarded right away with points. If you don't, you see where you could have improved. And again, it gives you a great sense of progression, of purpose, and really fulfills the void and scratches that itch. And as you grow older and those times pass and you get a job and all these things, it's what I find myself nowadays or recently, that it would be and a part of me wanted to play, then another part would be like, oh, I have to turn it on, and then what am I gonna do? And learn all of these new mechanics about the game and compete with people that are spend the whole day playing, and then it's like, whatever, I'm just gonna scroll or something. And I think why this happened is very similar to what happens in life, and really shows us the correct approach to take. If you look in life, really how one goes about it, as you start, getting a job and wanting more money, all these things, usually it starts with something that I would compare to like a competitive game that is very straightforward and clear, and that you're climbing some sort of corporate ladder, and you're, gotta do this, gotta hit your quota. If you hit your quota, you get more money, more respect, more of these things, and it's very straightforward, even if it's not as much the video game. And that beginning of career can be very exciting and very, you're like, wow, this is so new. And a lot of you will have, been very productive, great salespeople, whatever it may be. But at some point, you're like, how much money can I get? How many of these things can I get until I'm fulfilled? Because I don't feel like it right now. And I don't feel like even though I'm progressing technically, and maybe I have a nicer car and a nicer house, whatever, but I just don't feel fulfilled. And I compare that with the first stage as with the sort of competitive games. And not to say that you can't play competitive games, I still play sometimes, but it gets to a point where you're like, what does this rank matter? What does this money matter? And then you exit that and you go and search for other things. And in life, a lot of people that do quit the job, unfortunately, a lot of times they end up getting into what normally nowadays happens, is into what I would call the path of someone else, where you buy a course or something about something that they sell to you as very exciting, about making money or about, feeling fulfilled. But in reality, it's someone else's path. It is someone else's method. And in a lot of ways, they're selling more than, the money or the result. They're selling you this sort of promise of a fulfilling life, of this itch being scratched. And if you do that long enough and you kind of pursue that long enough, you also find that it's like, even if you get the rewards that are promised, it doesn't scratch that itch. It feels like, like you're just turning a video game that is not yours to play, and that you're just kind of, there's the story and it seems nice, but it just doesn't click. And I think what we all eventually get or realize, older or younger, is what I think games like this you're seeing on your screen really represent very well and parallel very well, which are games that there's no mission. This is Skater XL, by the way, and I know I'm repeating a lot of the tricks I'm doing, but this is harder than it seems to speak as you play. And, there's no missions, there's no right or way of doing things. There's, you can do realistic tricks, you can do videos, like montages, you can just move around and do nothing, just appreciate what's around you. The world is yours to explore. It's like a sort of sandbox game, sort of like how Minecraft would be, where, the limit is your imagination. And it is games that sometimes when you're younger, maybe not Minecraft, because that's, one of the best sellers of all time, but sometimes these games are like, you're like, what do I do? There's, if there's no guidance on what to do, how do I know I'm doing it the right thing? How do I know where to go, what not to do, how do I choose? And I think the older you get and the more you go through the stages of life, and now here the video game parallels quite well, is that you realize that that is exactly it. There are no rules. There are no right or wrongs, as in, should I do this path or that path? Of course, there's right or wrongs, especially, you know, I believe in God. I believe there's moral rights and wrongs, but you can do moral rights in almost any path, any career. You can be a beekeeper, you can be a skateboarder, you can be a professional video game player, you can be, I don't know, selling little artifacts that you create out of wood by a beach. Is one more correct than the other? Depends on who's making them, depends on what you feel when you're doing it, depends on, you know, if it is right for you or not. And I think we have to get to this point that we realize that, yeah, it is comfy to have someone telling us what to do and what the mission is for the day, and to gain XP, to get the valuable skins and whatever, if we're talking about a video game. But at some point we have to realize that none of those things really have inherent value. So they're not valuable by themselves. They're valuable if we decide they're valuable. You know, money, a house, cars, these things are symbols of status, and people have called them valuable. But if they're not valuable to you, then they're not valuable. And we don't have to play these games other people have said we have to play just because. We can choose the game to play. We can choose, like, even a game like this, that now I'm distracted because I'm talking, I'm just roaming around. If that's what you like, why not? Oh, it's too easy. And if that's what I like to do, if that's what I want to do, even if at this stage of my life that is what I feel like doing it, maybe that's it. Maybe later I'll, you know, be more ambitious with what I'm doing, but now maybe I'm just enjoying doing this. Let's, in my opinion, step away from what we're being told to do and what we're being told is valuable and what we're even being told is meaningful and purposeful. And let's allow ourselves to play the sandbox of life and find what that is for us. And do things in a lot of ways in our own way. Because at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. Being rich right or wrong? Is being poor right or wrong? Is having this car or that car right or wrong? It's not about that. You can do all these things being right or wrong. But the things themselves are not what determine it.